Hello everybody and welcome back to Rebellious Menstruation. Today is a top 5 on the most valuable lessons that I have personally learned about reusables. Number 1, 20 pads is bad advice. I always point this out and many of you who have been with me a while are probably sick of hearing it, but for all of you newbies or all of you who haven't heard me say this before, base your number of cloth pads on your own personal circumstances, such as how many do you use. So if you are still using single-use disposables, how many of them do you use every day? If you are still using, do you use more heavies? Do you use more liners? Do you use tampons and liners? Do you use tampons and pads? Do you use heavy pads? All of these things are vitally important to understand before you buy reusables, because do you use 8 a day or 8 for your entire period? Is your period 2 days or, like me, 5 days? And do you wash daily or do you wash weekly? Do you have access to a laundry in your own home, a personal washing machine, or do you have access to a laundromat? Are you okay with washing your cloth pads in a laundromat? Are you okay with hanging these out or taking these back home, or do you usually use a dryer? So these are all the type of things that you need to look at, or look at all these factors when deciding not only what you need but how many you need. So it could be 8 heavies and that could do you your entire cycle, or it could be 50 and it could be 50 of a mix between lights, heavies, liners, regulars. It could be 1 cup and 1 liner and that could do you your whole period. Or you could have, 1 cup and 4 pairs of Love Luna period underwear, or, which you can get on sale for about $10 or $8, I've seen them. So you can mix it up and you can go, oh, I'd just rather wear underwear, or my period is light enough that I don't need a lot of heavies. I can pretty much wear a pair of Modi Body all day. I could wear 3 pads per day, so you really need to decide what you're comfortable with, what you do use now or what you want to use now, because I know that some people restrict their pad or tampon use because they can't afford more, and this may be buying 1 reusable every 6 to 8 weeks, maybe how you get your collection up and maybe how you slowly start to reduce it. But even then, consider what you can afford and what you can get and what you need to get. So you might need 8 or you may need 50, but 20 is not always the best number. Number 2, PUL or polyurethane laminate is unnecessary. I know when moving from single-use disposables to reusables, it is or it can be challenging, and a lot of the time PUL as a backer or PUL in the core makes absolute sense. Single-use disposables are filled with plastic and backed in plastic. They crinkle like plastic, and you want to fulfill kind of the same function. So logically you think, oh, the plastic is needed so I don't bleed through, or I don't bleed out, or I don't bleed on my pants, or whatever that connection is for you. However, what I have found is that if you have heavier periods, you will change more often, or if you are lighter, you may change less often, or if you may change more or less often depending on your wash routine, or however your hygiene works for you. And I tended to find that I got a lot of contact dermatitis when using single-use disposables that I don't get when using cloth pad. But also when I'm heavy, I can bleed up to 30 mils in the one day, and so I tend to change every 2 hours when that happens. But that's because my pad gets quite soaked. So it's not that I need PUL or don't need PUL. It makes me uncomfortable to wear a pad longer than 2.5 hours when I'm heavy, and the fact that that pad has PUL or not is actually irrelevant. I have not bled through my non-PUL pads because I take the time to change them. So my period again is between 50 to 70 mils, or in other words, a perfectly average period. And I do not find PUL necessary. I just change every 2 or 3 hours when I'm heavy. No problems. And I guess this, and again, this kind of refers back to the first question, is find out how much you need, how much you want, and get that amount of cloth pads. Number 3 is cup size is not based upon age or childbirth. I have addressed this in its own video, but it can be super hard to find your perfect cup, otherwise known as a Goldilocks cup. And essentially, you may actually find your Goldilocks cup, or you may find that you have 3 Goldilocks cups. It all depends. You might find that day 1 has a perfect cup, and day 2 has a perfect cup, and day 3 has a perfect cup. I use a different cup every day on my cycle because my daily meal average can change quite rapidly and can change a lot in that. So for me personally, I have a different cup per day because I can bleed, 5 or 8 mil on my first day and 30 mil on my second day. Those are substantially different cups that I need in both scenarios. So, but if you're looking at purchasing a cup, the most common piece of advice is the under 30 or pre-vaginal childbirth and the 30 or post-vaginal childbirth recommendation. However, the most relevant advice here is your own cervix height, whether you are low, medium or high, even though this is a guide, as your cervix can move up or down during your period, just to further complicate things a bit more, to make it even more fun. And your pelvic floor strength. So your pelvic floor strength is super important because it's whether it's weak or strong. If you have a cup based on your cervix height and pelvic floor strength, you will be happier, I promise. They're important to how your cup functions within your body and how you utilize your cup with your body. So pelvic floor strength will determine whether you have a soft, medium or firm cup, and your cervix height will determine whether you have a low, medium or high cup, and your amount of flow, whether you do 5 mils a day, 10 mils a day, 30 mils a day, will determine the amount that your cup needs to hold. Number 4, professional brands have marketing budgets, not necessarily the best products. This is actually not throwing shade at all onto larger brands or bigger brands or brands that have sale items in stores. I quite often, if you follow me on Instagram, when I see these products in a shop, I will most likely take a photo and post it to my Instagram so people in that area will know that those are available there. They can be great, and their budgets allow them to appear in advertisements, magazines, and in IGAs and shops, in discussions about period health, and they can promote reusable products because of their budgets. However, they're not always the best or the most suitable products for you. And well, Hannah pads, I'm going to use Hannah pads as an example. Unfortunately, I didn't actually bring out one with me when I was doing this video, but I have, and I've actually destashed most of them now if you watch my destash video, but you will know what they look like from a variety of other videos that I've done. They are perfectly well made. They are made from organic cotton, and they have laminated cotton backing in their own, they've developed their own prints, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And they are personally not right for me. I have explained in several of my videos why they're not personally right for me, so I'm not going to address that here, but suffice to say, they are really well made, and they are readily available in health food stores and local IGAs, and they appear in magazines. They appear in women's health magazines. They appear in alternative magazines as a cloth pad alternative. So they have the budget to do that, but they're not necessarily the best representation of pads if they don't suit you. because of the cost of cloth pads, it may turn you off, because essentially these companies, their pads do tend to be $3 or $4 more expensive on average than personal makers or at-home makers or Etsy sellers, and this actually may turn you off. But don't give up. There are so many cloth pad makers out there, and you can support all of them. Number 5, know your style of bleeding. This is kind of related to not depending on marketing budgets to understand cloth pads or menstrual cups, but knowing if you are a front, back or center bleeder is vital when picking out your cloth pads, kind of knowing your cervix height when picking out a menstrual cup. As all of these styles are available in the reusable community and definitely not in the single-use community, single-use disposable one. These subtle adjustments to how your cycle functions is a great thing, and the fact that you can buy, but it is also super relevant to how and what you're purchasing. This is why the Hannah pads, larger styles, don't work for me, as they become longer at the back and not all over. They're not an equal lengthener, I guess you'd say. Their ultra large pads grow out at the back, which means they are relevant for me as a center bleeder. But they may be perfectly great for you as a back bleeder or as a front bleeder, depending on how you wear it. Find out how you bleed and where you bleed, and buy those pads and underwear, because that will influence eventually how you feel about your reusables. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your morning, afternoon or evening, depending where you are in the day. And I, of course, will catch up with you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.